So I have now taken on this new role as the editor of Bluewell Press, and I cannot wait to read submissions. So this book right here, Marvelous Cornelius, was actually a book. I love this one. This is one of my favorites, but I won it at a Refo Remo contest, or one of the, not contests, but one of the rafflecopters, that they do. And it was for participating, and so this was one of the prizes that I got, and so I won this through Refo Remo, and this has become one of my favorite books. And one of the reasons that I love this book is because it uses onomatopoeia so well to just seamlessly move the story forward. And this book has become an example that I have given as a regional advisor of SCBWI and other things, because that just, it helped me find a new and exciting form of moving a story forward by using onomatopoeia in such a seamless way. So that is one of my really big takeaways from Refo Remo past, and just learning a new skill in a way, and seeing it like, oh my goodness, I could do this in my writing, and that's amazing.
I know, I love how much we can learn from mentor texts.
Yes.
So what's your favorite picture book and why?
Okay, so I have many. In fact, when I saw, because Carrie emailed me some questions beforehand, so I would be prepared, and I grabbed a stack, and this isn't even close to all of them, but my number one most favorite picture book is Miss Nelson is Missing. And I know that it is an older one, but this one just has my heart in so many ways. It was one of my favorites as a kid, and it is probably one of the best mentor texts for a twist still to this day.
Such a good one.
It's such a good one. But there are so many that I love that are, old and new, but I love funny, and I love stories that kind of do the unexpected. Another one of my favorites is There's a Monster at the end of this book, because it's just so hilarious. And again, a great twist, find out that, anyway, I won't reveal, even though it's an old story, I'm sure everyone knows.
Hopefully most of us have read that one, but.
Right. But so just those fun, clever books with a twist. This is actually another one of my very new favorites because it just came out in 2021, and it is The Owl Who Asks Why. And I have to be, I'm a little partial to this one because Michelle Garcia Anderson, the author, is a critique partner of mine. But this one's just clever, and it's, it's just about, instead of asking the typical who, the owl asks why. And so it kind of has that fun twist in it again, and just those stories that have that unexpectedness that just kind of make me giggle, like, oh, that's so clever. I wish I'd thought of that. Those are my favorite type of books.
I look forward to reading that one. I haven't read that one yet.
Yeah,
so what do you look for most in submissions?
So I will, I know everybody's different, and you hear all these different things. Believe me, I've been to so many SCBWI events and watched webinars, and everybody tells you something different about the submission process. Some of them say that your query letter is really important. I will be honest, and I don't always, I do read the query letter, but I don't put a lot of stock in it. It doesn't matter to me what your experience is. It doesn't matter to me previous publications. If the story is good, that's all that matters. So I'm looking for that extremely polished, well-written story. And I admit I do like humor. So if the story makes me giggle or makes me laugh, but sometimes there's just a certain thing about a story and you're not sure why, but it just sticks with you. And so I always know that I like a story when later on in the day I'm still thinking about it, and I want to go back and I want to look at it again. And that's when it's like, something about this story is speaking to me. And unfortunately, there's not any great piece of advice I can give in order to give the story that thing. Sometimes it's a phrase, or sometimes it's just the subject matter, like, oh, that's really sticking with me, like it's still in my mind. So I'm looking for those stories that I'm thinking about later.
That's a wonderful. So you had said in one of your wish lists that you wanted STEM. So how do you define STEM?
That's a good question too, because I know that for so many people think STEM is just complete educational, and there are a lot of educational STEM books. Miranda Paul has 9 months that came out a couple years ago. That's
Yeah.
but that would be like the textbook STEM book, about informative and non-fictional. But honestly, this one, The Owl Who Asked Why, that I showed a minute ago, The Owl Who Asked Why, that would be considered a STEM, because it talks about the different animals, and it goes through, and it talks about the night sounds in the forest and all of the creatures that live in the forest. It's completely fictional, but it has that STEM theme. And so that's why even on my wish list, I say STEM themed books. It doesn't have to be nonfiction. It doesn't have to be educational. It's got those themes that when a child is reading it, they don't even realize they're learning about something. They're learning here about the forest and the animals who live there and the sounds that they make. And, that's considered STEM. I am only taking STEM stories. So I am a smaller imprint of the Clear Fork Publishing parent publisher house, whatever, And so, yes, my imprint is only doing STEM picture books. There are other imprints that are doing different types. So my best advice is to go to that website, to the Clear Fork website, and look at the other imprints and find out what they're all taking. I'll take fiction or nonfiction. I also I really like to see a great biography from an unknown scientific STEM, not necessarily scientific, music, or STEAM is what I'm getting at too. STEAM or STEM biography, because I just like those. I think they're fun.
So how many books will you publish in a year?
I am been given the goal to publish, 2 or 3. That's not very many in a year. And I have only been in this position about 2.5 weeks, and I've already read hundreds of submissions.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and they're so good. And it hurts. They are so good. But that's what makes it such a subjective business, that everybody says it is subjective, because I have read some that are excellent books, and they're just not right for me right now, and I can't stress that to authors enough, is don't be discouraged by those rejections, because it is not because your story isn't a great polished story, because I've seen many, many of those.
And then how strongly do you adhere to the 500 word count?
I personally,
that's like 575.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 575, I still consider within that range. But as a librarian, a children's librarian, so I did our weekly story time for a few years. And I've specifically, as a librarian, when I am choosing a book, I am choosing something like this, or like this, that's fast, that's easy and fun to read out loud. Because when you get a book that is even 600 words, those young seats, those wiggle worms, they're not sitting through that.
Yeah, it's too long.
It's just too long. And even with in the school, I would read picture books to some of the older students, because you have all these wonderful biographies. So I don't care if you're in 4th grade, if you're coming into the library, we're talking about this, I'm going to read you this picture book, and we just read, the last one I read to a class was the one about Monopoly. Go collect $200, pass go collect $200.
Yes, I've read that one.
And it's really great. It is a longer one. So even reading that to 4th graders, I found myself paraphrasing and kind of moving it along. So for me, I am looking for those snappy, fun books that are fast to read, and that I know a librarian would pick this up, a teacher would pick this up and read it to their class, and the class's attention would be focused there the entire time. And as an author, on the other side of that, as an author, that's exactly what I want. There have been so many times that I've taken my kids to story time. They've heard a book by the librarian, loved it, and guess what I do? I go buy it because my kids loved it. So I'm really wanting to find those books that are fun to read out loud. So read your manuscripts out loud and see how they sound and how fast they can be read.